There is a form of communication so powerful, so magnetic, that it literally addicts people to its presence. An ancient art that few master, but that everyone instinctively recognizes when they experience it. It is the difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable, between being just another person in the crowd and being the one everyone seeks, between being listened to out of obligation and being listened to with genuine fascination. This isn't a superficial skill. It's not about manipulative techniques or fleeting social tricks. It's about understanding and mastering the fundamental principles of human psychology that govern connection, influence, and desire. It's about creating a conversational experience so rich, so rewarding, so addictive, that people will unconsciously seek out more, as if your presence were a drug they can't and won't quit. Think about the last meaningful conversations you've had, the ones that have stayed with you for days, the ones that made you feel simultaneously seen, challenged, and captivated, the ones that created an invisible bridge between you and the other person, an almost tangible connection. Now imagine being able to create that kind of experience at will. Imagine being the person who, when you leave a room, leaves others thinking about what you said, wanting more, waiting for the next encounter. Today, we're going to unravel the secrets of this art. We're going to dissect the psychological components that transform ordinary words into magnetic experiences. We're going to reveal the hidden techniques that great conversationalists, charismatic leaders, and natural seducers intuitively master, often without even realizing what they're doing. And most importantly, we're going to show you how you can incorporate these principles into your own communication in an authentic and powerful way. But first, we need to understand what doesn't work. What repels instead of attracts? What creates boredom instead of fascination? What makes people want to escape your presence instead of yearning for more? The first repulsive pattern is self-centered conversation. When someone talks incessantly about their own experiences, opinions, achievements, without creating space for the other person, without demonstrating genuine curiosity, without building bridges of relevance, that person is creating a one-way conversational experience. It's like forcing someone to sit through a boring monologue when what they really want is to participate in a dynamic dance. The human mind is not designed to be a passive vessel. It craves engagement, participation, co-creation. The second repulsive pattern is absolute predictability. When your communication follows exactly the expected paths, when you respond exactly as everyone else would, when there is no surprise, no challenge, no mystery, you become instantly forgettable. The human mind is attracted to the new, the unexpected, the intriguing. It seeks patterns, yes, but it delights when those patterns are subtly subverted, when its expectations are challenged in exciting ways. The third repulsive pattern is persistent superficiality. When all your interactions remain at the shallowest level of human experience, the weather, the news, the trivialities of everyday life, without ever delving into the deeper waters of existence, you are depriving the other person of one of the most rewarding experiences communication can offer, a sense of depth, of meaning, of joint exploration of what really matters. The fourth repellent pattern is imbalanced energy. When you are overly anxious, desperately seeking approval, or, at the other extreme, completely apathetic and disinterested, you create an energetic dissonance that makes interaction uncomfortable. Magnetic communication occurs in a state of balanced presence, where you are simultaneously relaxed and engaged, confident and curious, assertive and receptive. The fifth and perhaps most subtle pattern of repulsion is lack of modulation. When your communication maintains the same tone, pace, intensity, and depth from beginning to end, whether it's always serious, always humorous, always intense, or always casual, you are denying the other person the full experience of the emotional and intellectual spectrum that a truly magnetic conversation can offer. Now that we understand what to avoid, let's dive into the fundamental principles that make conversation addictive. The first and most powerful is the principle of genuine curiosity. Not the performative curiosity that involves asking questions while anxiously awaiting your turn to speak, but authentic curiosity that comes from a genuine interest in exploring the other person's mental landscape, in understanding their unique perspective, in discovering what moves them, what fascinates them, what challenges them. When you approach someone with genuine curiosity, you're essentially saying, "You're a fascinating territory worth exploring." And few compliments are as powerful as that. Genuine curiosity creates a psychological space where someone feels both safe to reveal themselves and encouraged to explore aspects of themselves that they might rarely share. It's like offering someone a magic mirror that reveals not only who they are, but who they could be. In practice, this means asking questions that open doors rather than questions that close possibilities. Open-ended questions that invite reflection, elaboration, exploration. What led you to choose this path? Instead of, "Do you like your work?" How has this experience changed you? Instead of, "Was it good?" What did you discover about yourself in this process? Instead of, "Did you achieve what you wanted?" But genuine curiosity goes beyond asking questions. It's in the way you listen, with your whole being, not just your ears. It's in the attentive but non-invasive eye contact. It's in the body language that says, "I'm fully present in this moment with you." It's in the small signs of recognition that show you're listening not just to the words, but to the feelings and intentions behind them. The second fundamental principle is that of deep validation. We all have a primal need to be seen, heard, and understood, not just in our opinions and ideas, but in our emotional experience of the world. When you offer someone deep validation, you are satisfying one of the most basic hungers of the human soul. This doesn't mean agreeing with everything the other person says. On the contrary, the most powerful validation often comes when you disagree with the content, but still acknowledge and respect the underlying experience. I can see why you've come to that conclusion, given your experience. My perspective is different, and I'd like to share it if you're open to it. This approach creates a space where disagreement doesn't threaten connection, but deepens it through mutual respect. Deep validation also manifests itself in how you respond to someone else's disclosures. When someone shares something personal, vulnerable, or meaningful, your immediate response has immense power. If you minimize, change the subject, or respond with a story of your own that outshines theirs, you are essentially invalidating their experience. But if you acknowledge the significance of what was shared, express gratitude for their trust, and demonstrate that you understand the emotional weight of that disclosure, you create a bond of trust that is the foundation of any deep connection. The third principle is that of calibrated mystery. Humans are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand, to what is yet to be discovered. When you are a completely open book, when there is nothing to be explored or unraveled, you lose a powerful source of conversational attraction. This doesn't mean being artificially enigmatic or deliberately vague. It means revealing yourself in layers, like a well-written novel that doesn't give away all its secrets in the first chapter. It means leaving room for others to make discoveries about you, to feel the satisfaction of having gained access to aspects of yourself that aren't immediately apparent to everyone else. In practice, calibrated mystery manifests itself in the art of answering questions in a way that satisfies immediate curiosity but sparks even more interest. Instead of providing encyclopedic answers that exhaust the subject, you offer intriguing insights that open doors to new questions. You share not just facts, but unique perspectives that invite deeper exploration. The fourth principle is that of total presence. In a world of fragmented attention, where most people are partially present, partially distracted by devices, wandering thoughts, or worries about the past and future, the ability to be fully present is almost a conversational superpower. Total presence manifests itself in the quality of your attention. It's not just about listening to the words, but about tuning into the energy, the emotions, the unspoken intentions. It's about creating a field of attention so dense, so palpable, that the other person feels enveloped by it, sustained by it. It's as if you've created a time bubble where nothing else exists beyond that shared moment. This quality of presence is deeply addictive because it is so rare. In a world where most interactions are superficial and distracting, being the recipient of undivided, genuine attention is an almost transcendental experience. It's like an oasis in the desert of modern communication. The fifth principle is that of modulated energy. Magnetic conversation does not hold the same note from beginning to end. It is a symphony of different tones, rhythms, and intensities. It breathes. It expands and contracts. It speeds up and slows down. It deepens and relieves. In practice, This means developing the sensitivity to when it's time to shift the tone of the conversation, when to deepen and when to lighten, when to challenge and when to support, when to speak up and when to create space for silence. This sensitivity isn't just intuitive. It can be cultivated through conscious attention to the other person's verbal and nonverbal responses to the natural flow of conversational energy. Now, let's translate these principles into specific techniques you can implement immediately to transform your conversations into magnetic experiences. The first technique is amplified active listening. It goes beyond conventional active listening, where you simply paraphrase what you heard. In amplified active listening, you reflect not only the content but the underlying emotion, and then offer insight that expands the speaker's own understanding of what they shared. For example, if someone says, "I'm frustrated with my job. I feel like I'm not making progress," the conventional active listening response would be, "You're frustrated because you feel like you're stagnant at work." The amplified active listening response would be, "It sounds like this stagnation at work is creating not just frustration, but perhaps a deeper questioning of the path you've chosen," as if part of you knows you're capable of more, of something different. This technique is powerful because it offers the other person the gift of self-discovery. You're not just reflecting back what they already know. You're helping them see patterns, connections, and meanings that might not have been immediately apparent to them. When you do this accurately, not projecting your own interpretations, but genuinely picking up on what's implicit, the common response is a sense of, "Wow, that's exactly what I've been feeling but couldn't articulate." The second technique is strategic disclosure. Instead of sharing personal information randomly or excessively, you reveal aspects of yourself that create bridges of relevance with the other person, that demonstrate calibrated vulnerability, and that open doors for deeper exploration. Strategic disclosure follows a simple principle. You share something personal that is one level deeper than the current conversation, but not several levels deeper. This invites the other person to respond with a similar level of openness, creating a gradual and comfortable deepening of conversational intimacy. For example, if the conversation is at the level of hobbies and interests, you might share not just what your hobby is, but why it is meaningful to you, what emotional need it satisfies. This invites the other person to reflect on their own deeper motivations, without the discomfort of a too abrupt leap into intimacy. The third technique is Socratic questioning, named after the philosopher Socrates, who believed that true knowledge comes from within, through self-reflection guided by insightful questions. Instead of simply offering your opinions or advice, you ask questions that lead the other person to discover their own answers. What do you think is at the root of this recurring situation in your life? If you could go back in time and advise your younger self on this, what would you say? What part of this situation is within your control, and what part do you need to accept? These aren't just ordinary questions. They're invitations to deep introspection. And when you guide someone through this process of discovery, you create an experience that's far more powerful than simply offering your wisdom. You become a facilitator of insight, a catalyst for clarity, a mirror that reflects not just what is, but what could be. The fourth technique is the calibrated alternation between depth and lightness. A conversation that remains consistently deep and intense can become emotionally draining. One that remains consistently light and superficial can feel empty and unsatisfying. The art lies in the intentional alternation between these registers. After a moment of significant depth, where perhaps vulnerabilities were shared or existential questions explored, you can lighten the intensity with gentle humor, a light observation about the environment, or a temporary shift to a more casual topic. This creates a breathing rhythm in the conversation, allowing both of you to process what was shared before diving back in. This technique requires sensitivity to the other person's emotional state and the energy of the conversation. It's not about abruptly changing the subject when things get too intense, but about consciously modulating the depth to create a full and sustainable experience. The fifth technique is the memorable close. The way you end a conversation has a disproportionate impact on the overall impression you make. It's what psychologists call the recency effect. We tend to remember the end of an experience more vividly than the middle. A memorable closing includes three elements. A specific acknowledgement of the value of the interaction. This conversation gave me a completely new perspective on X. A reference to something specific that was shared, what you said about why really resonated with me. And an opening to the future. It would be fascinating to continue this exploration at some point. This type of closure makes the other person feel truly seen and valued, and plants the seed of desire for future interactions. It's not manipulative. It's simply a genuine acknowledgement of the value of the connection that's been created. Now, it is crucial to understand that these techniques are not mechanical formulas to be applied indiscriminately. They are tools to be used with discernment, authenticity, and respect for the uniqueness of each person and each interaction. True conversational mastery lies not in the rigid application of techniques, but in the ability to dance with the moment, to respond to what is alive in the interaction, to co-create a unique experience with each person you encounter. And here's the ultimate paradox. The more you focus on creating an extraordinary experience for the other person, rather than trying to impress or get something for yourself, the more magnetic your presence becomes. The less you need validation, approval, or admiration from the other person, the more naturally you attract it. Truly magnetic conversation is not about performance or manipulation. It is about authentic connection, genuine curiosity, full presence. It is about creating a space where both can be simultaneously seen and transformed, where they can explore not just ideas and experiences, but new possibilities of being. Master this art, and you will never again be just another person in the crowd. You will be an unforgettable presence, someone whose company is eagerly anticipated, whose absence is deeply felt. You will be the creator of moments of connection that linger in the memory long after the specific words have been forgotten. The choice is yours. You can continue to engage in superficial, predictable, self-centered interactions, as most people do. Or you can become a master of the art of magnetic conversation, someone who transforms ordinary encounters into extraordinary experiences, someone who literally addicts people to your presence, not through manipulation or artifice, but through the rare and precious quality of connection you offer. The world is hungry for authentic communication, for genuine connection, for total presence. Become the person who satisfies that hunger, and you will never again have a shortage of people wanting your company, valuing your perspective, yearning for one more moment in your presence.